Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have really been inspired today, as I have from the C Summit. It's been really powerful for me to get a chance to drop into a lot of the different sessions, to hear about the passion of these students, the things they really care about, the things they know about us that we maybe don't even know about ourselves. I think it's been a really powerful morning. I've loved being a part of jam boards and student surveys and seeing surveys they've put out and just a lot of the great work that they've done. Really want to give a great shout out to them. Super proud of all the amazing work that's happened to pull off this conference, and super glad to segue into this final Q&A. At the beginning, we had a Q&A with a couple of students who were being asked questions. And this time we've got a couple of students who will be asking questions to the faculty, some teachers and some staffers, to get their perspectives on, where do we go from here? We don't want this summit to end right now. We want it to continue on. We want this work to continue. So that's what we're all about. So I want to quickly pass it off to, we had 3 students, but one was not able to make it today. So Sion wasn't able to make it this afternoon, but I would love to allow Tyosha to introduce herself, and then followed by Macey, and Macey will ask the first question to our panelists. And these adult panelists will, as they answer the first question, introduce themselves and then answer the question. And we'll have a little conversation about where we go from here. So Tyosha, I'm going to pass it to you.
Hi all, my name is Tyosha Sheppard. I am a senior at Dekalb School of the Arts in Atlanta, Georgia from the Dekalb County School District. I major in drama and I minor in technical theater. And in the fall, I'll be attending Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Hello, my name is Macey Schriefer. I go to Avonworth High School. It's about 20 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. And in the fall, I will be attending Temple University for computer science. Let
me quickly say, we may have had some video and sound issues a bit early on, but this is a panel where Macey and Tyosha are going to be able to ask some questions of some of our adults who've been participating today to get their point of view about where we should go into the future. So make sure that we're good there. Make sure everybody knows what we're kind of doing in this section. So Macey, I'm gonna pass it back to you for the first question to our adult panelists.
Okay, so what did you learn today and what perspectives changed for you?
Hi, I'm Bobby Eastwood. I'm a second grade teacher at the Avonworth School District. So right down the road from Macey. This conference has been amazing. The things that I'm learned today and I'm going to be able to take back with me into my practice, I'm very grateful for. I think one of the things that touched me the most is really reflecting on the idea of a safe school. And I think at the minimum, right, schools should be safe. So I think that the fact that we're being told that students are experiencing hostilities in terms of racial inequities, mental health inequities, I think it's a call to action. And I really see an opportunity for us to know better, do better. So really reflecting on that idea of a safe school. Schools should be safe for students at a minimum. So I appreciated that perspective today.
I'm going to jump in here to fill out the Western Pennsylvania group. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. I'm not there anymore. I'm Barbara Pape. I'm Senior Director of the Learner Variability Project at Digital Promise. I did teach, it was many years ago in dark ages. And it's so interesting though, how some of what students are saying today really are the same kinds of questions, demands, suggestions that have been going on for a very, very long time. So I think it's a wake-up call for all of us to try to answer those questions and do the right thing in schools. The safe environment, I also wanted to jump on. We have, and I won't go into a whole lot of details, but one of what research backs this up, creating a sense of belonging is in a school for whatever that means for each kid, not just all kids, but for each kid is so important as a first step to learning. And the thing I am like blown away by every student I heard was able to talk about that uniqueness of each of them. And that's sort of what we work on. But I mean, we've been working on this. We're looking at the research, and you guys just came here today and in an incredible, eloquent way, we're able to talk about why it's important to understand the why behind each student. And so I so appreciated that. And you've inspired me more in what I'm doing now, which is not in the classroom. Go Steelers.
Hello, my name is Kelli Rembert, and I am from South Carolina with Richland District 2. And I've learned a lot through the course of this entire project. And what I would like to say and what I've learned most is, students want to be heard, and they want their opinions to matter just as much as leadership or administration and the leaders of our school. And they want equality. One thing that I admire about you millennials is that you all have a voice, and you all don't mind using your voice, and you use your voice for the better good, and you stand up for what you believe. And I really admire that. I know when I was in high school, I didn't know to use my voice in such a powerful way. But the youth of today, and you all, especially within this program, have used your voice in a very powerful way, very professional, very impactful, and you all have something to say. But I love the way that you say, accept our differences, even if it's not something that is comfortable for you, and is, even though it may step outside of your tradition, please accept our differences, and please hear us. And we hear you, and we will listen, and we will adjust. Thank you.
I'll close this out for us. My name is Zach Lenski. I'm an educator at Kettle Moraine High School in Wales, Wisconsin. I'm coming from you in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'll kind of approach this in a very Wisconsin fashion, and I'm going to reference cheese. One of the things that I kind of picked up today is when we start to look at the problems that students are telling us about, it reminds me of Swiss cheese. There's a lot of holes in a lot of the things that we do in the education system. And as we cut away at this cheese block, we're able to see the different holes that are being exposed to us. And I think the big thing for us educators to realize is our team is much bigger than just the educators. The students are part of this team. And so I think maybe it inspires me more knowing, there's more people behind me than just my teacher peers. My students are here to fight alongside of us to make these changes, and they see the holes just as we do. And I think we can all together make really great change.
Okay, so the next question is, what is going to be your very first step when the summit concludes? Not your short-term or your long-term goal, but just how do you plan on taking ideas from the summit and including them in your everyday teaching?
I can start this one off. I think, as Kalisa said, I think it really starts with us. We can only control what we can control. So I think one of the first things is to have this multiplier effect, or this ripple effect from the conference. The 400 plus people who came here will talk to 2 people, and that multiplies. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just talking. Just start talking about what I've learned, all the notes that I've taken on these 3 pages, start sharing them with people. And then I think the second one that's actually kind of coincidental is I received a pretty substantial gift card from a loving parent. And I think I'm going to be spending that gift card for Teacher Appreciation Week on some new texts that were kind of mentioned today. So those are 2 of my 2 big realistic pieces that I can start right on Monday doing.
I completely agree with Zach. I think that this is a great opportunity to call our colleagues in with us. One of the student sessions today, a student pointed out that oftentimes the folks that need to hear this wisdom opt out of joining these conversations because of the fear that they might already have with them, just thinking about ideas of educational equity. So I think creating space to call people in rather than calling people out in my day-to-day practice is where I'm going to be living in the next couple of days.
there, I couldn't get the mic. I couldn't get it unmuted. Well, no, I am not a teacher right now. And as I said, I work on a project, a digital promise called the Learner Variability Project, where we try to understand what are the different factors of learning that intersect with each other, that on what we call a little jargon, a whole child framework. So that means not just what you can do or what is taught in schools and learned in content specific areas, like what do you learn in literacy, or it's not even cognition, working memory, executive function, attention. It's also social emotional, building relationships, right? Do you feel you're under stereotype threat, creating a sense of belonging, and student background, which is a whole slew of factors, including SES, if you're living in poverty, if you're living in trauma, do you get enough sleep or not? Because that, by the way, has an effect on working memory. And teachers need to understand that. When what I heard from a lot of students is like, they need to know the why. You know, why did you not turn that assignment in? Why are you late? And if in a way that doesn't invade privacy, there is that sense of belonging, and that you can, you know, carry on conversations in private. I'm getting this from our last session. You know, there's good ways to be able to understand each other. So what I'm going to do now, and the other thing we're doing a lot more at Digital Promise is including the community. The community also has to include students. And I know our League of Innovative Schools is working on that in a special project at the Learner Variability Project. We're partnering with one of the sponsor partners for this, for the C Summit, understood.org, creating a network of students who can help develop self-advocacy tools. These are students who have learning differences, learning disabilities, and how can they learn the tools and skills they need to advocate for themselves and then help others. So that's, I'm getting back on the phone with them, on the Zoom, not the phone. I gave away my age, so sorry. But getting back in touch with them tomorrow to make sure we can move those types of projects along, and make sure student voice is there in the very beginning as we start to build out what we do. Oh, sorry, let me turn this off.
And Kelli, what about you? Do you have any insights and ideas about how you'll jump in, you know, starting next week? You and I actually work in the same building, so we can hold each other accountable. I've already sent a couple of some texts to some people and have a few tabs open and have a couple ideas. So what are your ideas for what you'd like to do even next week to take some of these ideas forward?
Of course, I was.
There we go. There we go.
I would really like to just have a smaller group. I think this is such a great idea to encompass it and make it a bigger platform just within Richland District 2, and listen to some of the ideas and try to, like, just like this program, like separate it into different entities based upon the subject matter, what's going on. And then also take it to, like, be an advocate and help advocate for some of the rights for the students, and get other administrators and leaders to listen to them, to help be an advocate for change.
Thank you very much. Good ideas, and we'll hold each other accountable. Since Sion wasn't able to be here this afternoon for her question, I'll go ahead and ask it, and this will be our final question, unless, of course, Tyosha and Macey have further questions for you guys. But last question from me: how can we better really utilize student voice to create more equitable and you know, just systems in our schools? How can we better utilize student voice as we build our schools?
I know one thing that we do at R2Y2, I teach at R2Y2, which is our district school of innovation. So what we do is we have classes that the rest of the district do not offer. And so we're a small school of innovation. It's six teachers within our school, and our school is located on the first floor of the district office. And so we're a small school of innovation, but what we do is we assign leadership roles to our students, and we give them autonomy to make decisions over different projects or things that we have. So I think that's one way that we can definitely get students involved and give them leadership positions and allow them to make leadership decisions about some of the decisions that they want to see change in.
I think speaking to a little bit of the idea of student leaders, I think that the leadership structure in education often prevents us from hearing student voice because there's such a hierarchy. When we have like school administrators and then principals responding to them, teachers responding to them, and then students responding to teachers, I think that oftentimes their voice is omitted from the conversation because there's external pressures to comply with what our principal told us to do or what the superintendent told our principals to tell us to do. And in turn, that gets put down onto the students. So I think really to create space where we can best utilize student voice, we need to dismantle systems that are innately oppressive. And while those roles in our schools are important, school leaders are important to the work that schools do, the one-way top-down mission does not support equitable use of student voice. So really looking at those systems and thinking creatively about how do we maintain this school structure in a way that allows students' voice to feel valued is something that I'm really interested in exploring.
Yeah, I think I can piggyback off of Bobby and Kelly. I work at Kettle Moraine Global within the Kettle Moraine High School ecosystem, and we have 4 unique high schools all under one roof. And so we do get that. We do have student leadership roles that are allocated to students that apply or just volunteer. And for some of you who maybe don't have those opportunities, try to find roles like within your classroom. I think maybe that's one way. But I think on a more macro level, when we look at our education system, be it the whole school environment or the district, do the students have a seat at the table? You know, when you're talking about in one of the sessions, when we're talking about school dress code, do you have students talking about the dress code that will impact them, as opposed to a bunch of middle-aged people who are not teenagers, making the rules for the culture and style that is in? I think giving them the voice at the big table, not just at their desk. The desk is where they learn. We have to look bigger. That macro level is so important. And I think to Bobby's point, there was a point in the history, not nostalgia section, my first session, where one of the students talked about the chain of respect, and Bobby kind of went through that whole chain of respect. And if we can, they talked about leveling the playing field of respect. And as a history nerd, I think we have to look at the founding of our country. And when we look at why we broke away from Great Britain, it was because there was this chain of respect that was passed down in a hierarchical fashion. And we were one of the first countries to ever try to level that playing field. And obviously history has shown us that maybe it wasn't as level as we believed it to be. But I think, yeah, you got to give them a chair at the big table, primarily because Tyosha and Macey, they're going to call you out. They're going to be the backstop. If you guys are bringing up something in your schools or in your districts that they don't think students would, for lack of better terms, get down with, they're going to tell you the truth. Sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow, but you got to do it. You have to listen to students because this is their field that they're playing on, and we're just the coaches.
You know, it was in the deeds session, I was going to use the exact same, it just really sunk in and I wrote it down, where the the student leader there, I apologize, I don't remember your name, but he talked about the leveling of respect and how I'm actually reading it. I literally took notes. How, you know, that one, it needs to be one level. It can't be students at the bottom and then everybody else. That you need to take steps to break those barriers, and you need to take those steps together. And I thought, wow, that's just so, and such an impressive way of expressing what is needed. I'm not teaching, as you know, we're in a nonprofit. And I think the way we can help amplify student voice is get the message out in the work that we do. So, you know, whether it's a social media campaign, and, you know, as we've been running, and really creds to all the people at Digital Promise who really have led that effort. I know I'm there, but these are other people who were really, you know, doing a lot of that work. But also in our work, when we're putting together policies or papers or research, is how do we bring students into that work and then amplify it out into the broader world outside of schools and school districts. I think that's something we can take on ourselves and do a much better job, so that every part of our society sees the important role of students as leaders, and as Kalisa said, is defining your own self and who you are. So that's what I plan to do on Monday.
That's great. Thank you very much. Definitely a lot of ideas about leveling the playing field and bringing students to the table. I appreciate those thoughts. So we got a couple minutes left. Tyosha, Macey, do you have any further questions for these folks? Or is there anything else you'd like to leave us with to give you guys the final word for this panel?
I just wanted to say thank you for all your responses. They were really, like, it made me see some of the panels I didn't get a chance to see, like the, was it the dress codes one? I think that was very interesting what you guys were saying about that. And I just think it's definitely the idea of like leveling the playing field between students and teachers, when some things like students are just thought, oh, you're just learning from your teachers, and you're not supposed to be able to communicate with your teachers when things are going wrong. And I think that's a very important thing to learn from, and I really respected your thoughts on it.
I also just wanted to say thank you. Your responses give me hope, because I'm a senior, so obviously high school, elementary schools, that's done for me. But it gives me hope for all the generations below me, my niece, my nephew, that they have an opportunity to not only get a better learning experience, but they're going to have teachers, administrators that are going to care for them, and not only care for them, care about their learning, and to know that you guys truly do care. And the plans, I loved all of the plans that I heard that are going to happen on Monday. That makes me know you guys are serious, because, sometimes we hear a lot from higher execs, superintendents, governors. I mean, that all of these plans that they have, and then we see no action. And hearing all your responses gives me hope that there will be action immediately. You guys are not going to wait until the next school year. You guys are going to start on Monday. You're going to talk to your colleagues, the nonprofits, the parallel associations, and that you guys are going to do a good job. And I'm just proud and I'm thankful.
Great words to end on. So there you go. Be sure before you jump off this call, before the C-Summit is over, write yourself a Google Calendar note, or whatever you use. Like, put yourself a note so something dings at you on Monday morning to remind you about the great work and the things that have transpired today. So Tyosha, Macey, thank you guys very much for helping lead this. Thank you to Zach and Barbara and Kelly and Bobby for being our panelists and being brave enough to put your good name on the line with your actions and plans. I'm going to now pass it off to Dwayne.